Citizen, get down on your left knee. You're gonna Get the hand!
This body camera footage showing a DoorDash driver get tased by police is now at the center of a civil lawsuit brought against the city of Superior. Good evening, I'm Laura Lee.
And I'm Dan Wolf. Thanks for joining us. 3 Superior police officers are being sued by the 22-year-old for alleged excessive force and failure to intervene.
The city is also being sued, and it all surrounds a traffic stop from earlier this year.
And Northern News Now's Madison Green takes us back to that night as one of the attorneys for the young man says the body camera footage clearly shows why she believes they're going to win the case.
Could I please get an explanation? Citizen, get down on your left knee. You're gonna
Seen in this police footage is the result of what started as a routine traffic stop. On February 28, 2024, Ian Kuipers was completing a DoorDash order in Superior when he turned the wrong way down a one-way street. He was pulled over by one Superior police officer for the traffic violation, who called for backup.
3 officers point guns at him. He thought he was going to be killed, and he was arrested.
Nora Snyder, one of Kuipers' attorneys, filed the official complaint Thursday, which states 3 of the 5 responding officers then drew their firearms and pointed them at Kuipers' vehicle.
Guys, you have guns on me?
3 officers point guns at him. He thought he was going to be killed, and he was arrested.
Kuipers was arrested for his traffic violation and resisting or obstructing arrest, which he was later acquitted of.
What are you trying to say? 16. The only thing I can really... Yep.
While Kuipers was in the back of the squad car, officers are heard joking about what they should do with the DoorDash order Kuipers was delivering.
Should we deliver their food for them? Is that what he's doing? It's DoorDash. Yeah, I probably should. I'm down for doing that. He said he wants the food to just...
According to his attorney, since that night, Kuipers says his life has spiraled, forcing him to move out of the area and decide to file the lawsuit.
He was severely traumatized by what happened, and he is ready to take the fight to them and to hold them accountable for what happened to him.
In Superior, Madison Green, Northern News Now.
Madison, thank you. Now, we have reached out to Superior Police and the city of Superior. A spokesperson with Superior PD said they could not comment due to the pending litigation.
We're still waiting to hear back from the city.